everyone. Hope you're all doing well. Thank you so much for joining in for this stream. For those of you who don't know, I am Aditya Obra. I'm one of the coaches here from India, and I am really, really happy to be here with all of you. So, if you're excited about this stream, give a little shout in the chat because this is definitely one of those classic little problems of programming that we start working on as beginners, just when we've started working with the fundamentals. So it's a really interesting topic, of course, strings, and that's what we're going to be working with. We're going to learn how to reverse a string today, and we're going to try that in a few different methods and maybe in a few different languages. So let's see. uh, I hope you're all excited. I see we've got folks who are already, we've got a lot of highs here in the chat. Always nice to see that. Hey. Um, so yeah. Now, before we kind of jump into the stream, there are a few things we kind of need to do before, right? Like make sure that we're registered and we've checked in. So let's go ahead. Let's do that once. For that, I'm going to bring up my screen and I am going to shift us right here. So whenever I look this side, what I've done is I've basically just kept my StreamYard here on my second display. So me looking here means I'm looking at the chat just to understand, what's going on with you all, what's happening. All right, so don't worry too much. Basically, me looking here means that I am looking at the chat. Now, let me share my screen once so that I can walk you through the registration and the check-in process. So yeah, first up, we're gonna make sure that we're registered for local hack day build if that hasn't yet happened already. Okay. For that purpose, all you need to do is go ahead to hackpack/Aditya. You can do that. All right. I'm gonna send that over in the chat as well. You can use this link to check in for local hack day. That's local hack day build overall. If you're not already, you should see a register and check in button here. Once you do that, it will look similar to the you are checked in join online event, which essentially would take you back to, well, Twitch. So you can go ahead and make sure that you're checked in for local hack day build. Second thing you need to do is make sure you're checked into day 2. Considering that at local hack day you have points individually as well as for your guild, it's a good idea to check in for that, as well as to make sure that you're eligible for all the really cool swags that we have. So make sure to go ahead, check in on day 2 as well. I have shared the day 2 link in the chat already, so you can go ahead, you can do that. Should be good. Yeah, in case anyone has any trouble checking in or with your MyMLH accounts, you can always message in the MLH Discord. There's going to be someone somewhere to help you out. All right, so make sure to do that in case you face any trouble. Third, last but not the least, definitely you need to check into this specific event. All right. Make sure to do that. The link for this has already been shared on Discord in the local hack day build announcements channel as well. You can go ahead, you can do that. We do have a daily challenge for this particular uh, stream as well, from what I remember. If I just quickly go ahead and check dev post, I believe we do have a daily challenge here. So it's going to be eligible there as well. And yep, here it is. Write a script to reverse a string. There is a daily challenge for this activity. So yeah, that's definitely going to help you out, add to your local hack day submissions. I'm going to share the dev post at the end as well. Don't worry too much about that. All right. For now, just make sure that you're checked into the event. And at the end, we're going to go to dev post. So I'm going to send the link in at that point as well. Now that, I guess, covers the registration process. Yeah. So first things, this is a session that's all about, reversing a string, a piece of text. And for that matter, this is, as I mentioned, a classic problem of programming. It's something we all come across as beginners, and I hope that way this little stream shall help you get insights to this little problem that we all face. Now, for this, I will be going ahead and working with C sharp primarily. The reason for that is that I like C sharp. But that being said, I will eventually go and maybe see and try out a few different languages. We learn along and see how we can do that in some other ones as well. So that's totally cool, where we can try out more languages. In any case, for your submissions, you can work with whatever language you prefer. There is no hard fixed requirement that you have to do C sharp. That's nothing of that sort. You can work with any language that you want, because we're going to try and understand the logic behind, this little problem here, right? So you can go ahead, work with whatever language you want. That's totally all right. We're not gonna force any specific language, whether it's Java, whether it's Python, JavaScript, Go, whatever you want, you can choose. You can work in C, C++. It's totally your preference. All right. Um, I am gonna work with C sharp, like just because I like C sharp and I have that set up on my system. Like, I mean, I'm on a new system. I don't have too many SDK set up here at the moment, but C .NET is definitely because that's one that I like. So I'm gonna go ahead and work with .NET and C sharp essentially. So I'll tell you what. Let me go back. Let's go to my display. I Just give me a second, please. Yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead, share my display once, because I'm gonna create a new console app just for this particular session, and then we'll hop into VS Code, right? So I'm gonna go ahead, create a new .NET console application. All right. We're gonna call this reverse string, yeah, because just yeah. All right, and we're gonna enter reverse string and open VS Code. Yep, I do trust that. All right, so this is just a little console application that's up and running here with .NET 6. It's not something that's just the basic structure that a CS proj is. It lets you understand what the target framework, what properties your little your .NET application has, as well as if in case you have imported any packages. So that's like your package.json for .NET. That's just your program file, and that's what we'll be working within. Now this is just the C sharp, structure, and because I'm working with C sharp and .NET, you can once again use whatever language you want. As Dushyant asked, if you want to work with Perl or Fortran or assembly, it's totally your choice. You can work with whatever you like. All right, there's no mandate from us. That being said, at least for the purposes of the program, one thing I'm gonna be doing is I'm gonna be going and just creating a more conventional program structure that might help folks understand a little more. Let me go ahead and just zoom a little. This should help people see what's happening on screen. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna create a more conventional structure for a program here. Go back to having a class and a main function. This might feel a little more recognizable. I didn't want to go fully minimal earlier on, so we're just gonna keep and maintain that, right? Yeah. So I'm assuming this sort of structure is a little more comfortable. It's something that feels a little more familiar for a lot of people, I guess. Let me do one thing. Let me go ahead and see if we've got this set up all right by just writing a little hello world. Yeah, console.writeLine equates to, you know, your console.log or system.out.println functions from JavaScript and Java. So that's just what this is. That's C Sharp's way of letting us print to the console. So I'm just gonna go ahead, write a little hello world, see if that works. We're gonna go to our terminal. Um, I'm just gonna run this once. It's gonna build this for the first time here, but we'll know quickly whether this is functioning or not. Zoom in a little more. I think this should be comfortable. If I zoom in more than this, it'll just become difficult to type at points. But if this is still troublesome, this sort of screen says, please let me know. And I realize I might have forgotten to save it. Let me just run that once again. Because that was the console.writeLine from earlier on. But yeah, it works. Cool. So our program is ready to work with, right? And wait, I still need to zoom in more. I mean, I can try that, but this is gonna make typing a little difficult because I can barely get a few lines on screen. But I'll try my best with this. So I think the first thing I'm just gonna set up here is a little input string sort of thing, just to make sure that where we can get input within the terminal once we start running these applications. Just I'm gonna set that up. Enter string to be reversed. And we're gonna add a console dot line, which is the equivalent of taking your system input, like just to take your standard input. Sorry, not system input. To take input here from the user. Uh, string input. That should be okay. Not sure why we have. Yeah, that should be all right. Okay, so that's gonna let us get input from the user. When I just start this console application, because we want to take a string that we can actually reverse, right? And for that matter, I'm just gonna set up a few other variables like reversed string. This is just to keep ready for us as we move forward. Now, the first way we're gonna try is to just before that we can probably discuss a little about what sort of ways we can actually go ahead and use to reverse strings. So as I think I'm still aware of a few methods. Are there any particular ones that you folks have in mind that you want to mention in the chat once? Yes, you can use Python and Colab. All right. So now, before I kind of start going on to my methods, are there any methods that you have in mind that you feel are good to go ahead and reverse strings? Okay. I see new string value dot reverse dot to array. Huh. Would you not convert it to a char array before and then reverse? Just a query. That's some. I'm okay. I mean, I believe I would have to convert it to a char array first. But yeah, I mean, if it's reversing automatically, sure, why not? I see we have another C# developer. I am not gonna be using LinkU for now. I'm not gonna be going that way. You use Python, so indexing works, sure. They're gonna be using C++. Nice. That's totally all right, by the way. You can use a naive approach. I think just to understand how reversing a string works, this would sort of help. So I'm gonna start in by actually going with some more basic approaches before we kind of jump into using inbuilt functions. Kind of don't want to rush to that quickly. Huh, I see. Yeah, that's, I guess, that works. Sure. Okay, we're getting a few character by character using a while loop. I think, I'm going to start off with this basic approach. That was the idea that I had in mind. I think that's where we can start. So let me go ahead back, on the right side, and I'm going to bring back my screen. So the way that I would start by going ahead with is I'm just going to define a little index for myself. All right. We're gonna keep this to less than the length of input, and increment I. Next thing would be, what I will do right now with this first method that I'm gonna start working with is just take the first character of input and place it at the end of reversed and keep adding characters, just behind each other. Effectively, that's what I will be doing. All right. So that's, I guess, that's the method I'm going to start with. I'm already seeing we've got people putting full programs. Not bad, not bad. um sure, I mean, we can start with a little method. But yeah, I see we've got Java users. I saw some scanner stuff there. Nice. I actually got into C sharp because of Java. I used to work with Java a little more with in school, and that's how I was able to transition to C sharp in a more comfortable manner. It's nice. Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna go to input now, and let's get started. Let's try reversing a string. So the first thing I want is I just want to get the first character, right? Um, we're gonna call this little, you know, variable as char at I, just to figure out, the char at I. Um, for that, C sharp makes it kind of really easy to get, you know the character at a specific index. But as you see, I can see an underline. That's because it C sharp doesn't implicitly convert char to string like Java might. So what I would just do here is I would convert this into a string, and what this would do is this would give me the character at I. Next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start adding these to reverse string. I'll explain the logic of this as I go along, because what I'm gonna try and do here is that I want to add the character at I before reverse string every single time. So the first character would start at, the first would they would start the same in that first iteration. But with the second one, we will see a change where instead of going in front of I, it goes behind. So that's essentially what I'm trying to achieve with this particular logic here. All right. And I can probably put in a comment to help explain what I'm trying to do. So what we're gonna do is, suppose we have, a string ABC in input. What I'm gonna do is in the first iteration, reverse string will see A come. In the second, we're gonna have B added in front of A, and in the third, by the time we reach the end, we're gonna add C in front of BA. All right. So that's effectively the logic that we're trying to use in this case, what I'm trying to achieve with this little loop. And we're gonna try and run this and see if this works. A good check for that is probably just to print, the reverse string. So we're gonna try and do that and hope things work. Right. So that's essentially what I'm trying to achieve in this case. Because until this case, this was just a little null little string. So that's effectively what we're trying to do. And I'm gonna run this. Let's see if this works. Right? Yeah. In case people weren't able to look at the entire code, that's what we've written here effectively so far. So let me go ahead and run this now. If I saved this, I hadn't saved this, my bad. Let me clear this up. Hmm. Okay, it's just giving us a few warnings. Never mind about those for now. What I can do is, okay, I see why we're getting this warning. I might have a way to kind of remove that. But okay, so the string that we want to reverse for now, let's call that A, B, C. And yeah, this works. It prints CBA. So yeah, that was a win. I'm just gonna remove this little thing by adding a question mark here. I believe that should help out. All right. So what I've done here is, if in case anyone's too worried, just I've made this variable of a nullable type, so it can be a null value. That removes the little warning that we had. Now that was a very basic way of going about it, right? That might be something that folks have seen in the past. It's a method that's a common one, but there are other methods that we can work with as well. Toshan, for example, mentions that reversing a string can also be done by swapping the first and the last character, then the second and the second last, and so on, which is actually a good method. We're going to try that one as well, as we go forward, as we try out. I see Shubham's mentioned edge cases here. Of course, one edge cases is that, with null strings and all, so on and so forth, we're going to have some troubles because you can't implicitly convert them to an array and create a null array and try to iterate over that. We can have error checking, but for now I'm trying to just go ahead with the most fundamental understanding of reversing a string here. If you want and you have any edge cases that you want to bring up, we can look at those and try to tackle them as well, right? For now, I'll tell you what, we're gonna comment this entire thing out. Okay? Call this method 1. I see we're getting a little error here, and I'm assuming it's because we have another comment in the middle. This should help. Like that's just right. Just remove the other comment from earlier on. Yeah. So the second method that I wanted to try out is converting to an array and reversing that. Right. Nisha has a funny little point. Yeah, you can use the print statement to reverse a palindrome. But how do you know it's a palindrome? Or more accurately, how does your computer know that it's a palindrome? That's the problem that you have to solve as well, right? We can make a little palindrome function if you want. We can do that. Um, sure. So, next up, I know that we've had a few people talk about inbuilt functions. We can try those, work with those. Sure. So for that, the first thing, I'm gonna what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna convert our input to a char array because we wanna try and see if we can reverse the array and go ahead accordingly, right? Plus having a char array is actually gonna help us in other places, like when we wanna swap the first and the last and so on. Because in C sharp, your arrays are your strings are actually immutable. So I cannot swap between string characters once it's formed. For that, I need to work with a char array instead. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to convert this to a char array. All right. Uh, Ish being smart in chat. Nice. Yeah. So another way to go about reversing a string is to convert it to a char array and then just, you know, reverse the array. Now, there are a few ways to do that. One of them is by swapping all, all the different characters here within a single array. You can also do that by having a separate array and kind of adding an individual character to each array, which is effectively what we tried to achieve in this method here. So I'm not going to go ahead and try to create a second array. We'll try and swap within the within the same one. How does that sound? No, you don't have to do it in C sharp only. I am doing it in C sharp only, but you don't have to by any means. All right. You're gonna be all right. Don't worry. You can use any programming language that you want. So next up, let's go ahead. Let's try to swap. You know, within a single, well, just within the array. So I've converted my input here to a second array. Now I want another loop, but we're gonna do something different in this loop this time around. We're gonna run two indexes here. We're gonna run one from the start till the end, and we're gonna run another one from the end till the start. Okay, that's what we're gonna do because we're gonna swap each of them, as they come. So by the time they meet at the center, all of them would be swapped. I'm kind of not moving towards stacks and queues at this point first, although we can go with a stack based method, with LeafO. We can use stacks there as well, but I'm kind of not going to that right now. I see a mention of a queue. I think with LeafO, you're using a stack, not a queue there. But I'm not gonna kind of jump to that first. So I'm setting up the second index. So it doesn't really matter. We can just use input as well since it's effectively the same thing. Yeah. So input.length. Next thing we want to run is we want to run I from j because if, for example, we're swapping I and j, then we kind of don't want to cover the same one at the end, right? So we're just gonna have these two iterators meet, and our loop essentially keeps running till they both kind of match. All right. And third, of course, we want to increment I by 1 and decrement j by 1, which is our iterator moving from the end. Right. So within this, of course, there are different ways to swap. In this scenario, though, what I'm just gonna do is I c- I'm I'll work with a temporary variable. All right. I'm gonna have a temporary variable cat temp, and we're gonna add input array I in this. This is the same conventional temp equal to I equal to j if you've seen that. So what we're doing here is we're just swapping these two variables using an extra temporary variable. You can get this done without one as well, but I'm just gonna go ahead with this for simplicity's sake for the moment. All right. So yeah, I'm just swapping these two for now. What this will do is it will swap the variables within just the different it'll swap the values within the array, at those two indexes. And so in the first iteration, like if I let me give you an example of what we'll do here. We're just gonna create this. So if my string is A, B, C, D, E, in the first iteration, we end up swapping E and A. So what we get is E, B, C, D, A. But in the second, we cross E and A, we move to B and D here. So E remains the same, of course. B and D get swapped. So we get E, D, C, D, A. By the time we hit the third point, I and J are both equal, right? So we leave the loop. If though we had another little value here that is X, what we would see happen is then it would have entered a third iteration that would have swapped E, D, we would have swapped C and X. So that's the value that we would have got. So at the end of this loop, if suppose our input is A, B, C, X, D, E, and this is the input we'll end up using, so we can test this out. What we can do is like these are the values we should end up with within our char array, but we need to convert the char array back to a string as well, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and store that in reverse string once again. And for that, strings in within C# at least have a little function where you can directly enter the input array, and this converts it into a string here. So as you can see, you can initialize an instance of of the string class by using Unicode characters in a specified character array, which is what we're doing. I'm just going to solve this little thing, just make this nullable for the sake, because we've got the input in the same manner as well. But anyway, this program here should be able to swap the values there and return a reversed string to us as well. So I'm going to try this. We're going to see if this runs. We're getting commenting of, I like that, we've got members thinking of optimizing this. The only reason I've kind of done this is to assist with understanding, right? That's honestly the only purpose. Otherwise, for that matter, you're still declaring, and which is not something I'm doing, at least for this one. So I can write input dot length minus we can use input dot length minus I, and that's totally valid. It's just right now, for the sake of understanding, for simplicity, to explain the concept is why I've gone this way. Yeah, you can do it in whatever language you want. We're getting that one quite a few times, but never mind. Let me just go back so that we can see the logic of what we've tried to achieve in this case, right? We've just had a character array, and we're swapping characters, at two ends and bringing that closer and closer. So I hope this gives a basic understanding of what we've tried to achieve here. It's the moment of truth, though. We need to test this and see if it actually works. So let me clear this, and we're gonna run. The string that we want to reverse is ABCXDE, right? As advertised, it works. It seems like we've got an exact swap, which is great. The program works for us. Yay. So yeah, that method works as well. Now, we've seen a few different methods being talked about, right? We've kind of we've used a few iterative methods here, but I saw someone mentioned a recursive method as well in the earlier on. So We can try a recursive function as well if we want. I can create a separate function here for that purpose, or we can just play around. I mean, I won't do that with main, so we can just play around and have a separate function which kind of returns that. So let me go ahead, comment this out. We're just gonna call this method 2 for now. And yeah, that should be good. Now, in order to work with a recursive function, the first thing we have to understand is, uh, you know, is everyone here aware of recursion? Is that something everyone understands? That's the first question I want to ask. Because I feel working with an iterative method with a loop within a function is still a little easier to understand. But with recursion, there's it's just another concept here that we have. So yeah, as Subhashri mentions, a recursive function is a self-calling function. So what it allow, whatever you have in a loop, you can effectively achieve with a recursive function as well. All right. So we're gonna try working with the recursive function. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and create one here. We're working with static functions. I'm just gonna keep this one static as well for now. But we do have a return type in this one. We want to return a string, right? C# convention says with function names we keep the first one capital as well. So that's what I'm gonna do. And yeah, we're just gonna keep a little string here. We're gonna call this input. All right. Now it shows a little error sort of mark here, and that is because it is supposed to, well, you know, return a string. So until we actually have a return statement with the string, it's gonna show that error. All right. Now the way recursive functions work is that first thing we do is we just set up our exit condition here, right? The method that I'm gonna be using is just it's gonna be similar to method one, where we return back the first character and we keep adding. We add the entire string back on the first character is effectively what we're doing here. All right. So I'm gonna explain what happens here once as I go forward. So since in this method that I'm gonna have, we're gonna remove one character each time. I feel the condition that I want to have is if suppose our string length reaches one or less than one. So then in that case, we want to return the entire string, right? We're not going to use any arrays in this recursive method. This is one without arrays. We're not going to touch any arrays here. And we're not going to be swapping in this recursive method. But yeah, we swapped in the earlier one, in the second method that we touched upon, right? So yeah, let's see how we can reverse a string in this method. So first up, I'm going to create my condition that is, well, our exit condition. So I'm gonna run this one till the length of input is less than or equal to 1, right? In that case, I want to return the entire string because then the reverse is the exact same. All right. And if if the length is less than or equal to 1, it's just gonna return input. Otherwise, what we're gonna do is we're gonna return, and here's where we're gonna see recursion come into play. We're gonna call back this function with input, but we're gonna do a little something different here. Where We're just gonna remove the first character from the start of input, and we're gonna place that, you know, separately for us. All right, and that is effectively gonna be, as I mentioned, we converted to gonna just as I'd shown earlier, we need to convert characters to strings. So I'm just gonna write that beforehand anyway, and we're gonna go ahead, keep import the first character here. What this is gonna do is, this function here is one second. If suppose I have an input string A, B, C, D. The first time this loop is hit, in the first iteration we reach, what it's gonna do is it's gonna keep B, C, D separate, and it's gonna keep A aside for us. This is because the way the substring function works is that if you put just one number there, it will it will take that index and take the entire string from that index on till the end. So considering that indexes start from 0, we want to remove just one single character and keep it aside, right? So in the first iteration, we take the first character, keep it aside. When the second iteration happens, it only takes BCD in. All right. So in this case, it separates CD plus D. And we're gonna keep, I'm just gonna keep this aside. I'm gonna understand why I've kept it aside. In the third iteration, it again gets called. What happens is that in this case we see D being separated. We've got D that was there otherwise, and we've got A which was there at the start. And we're gonna hit a fourth iteration. It just sees D. Now since this here, the length of the string is equal to 1, uh, this D is returned. What you have to remember is that all of these functions were called as well, right? So D is going to be returned to third. We're going to see D being returned. We're going to see all of these being returned upwards effectively. Oh, actually, no, wait. Yeah, D is separated, and there's one more call that I kind of missed out on because D is separated, but we're going to enter the loop anyway. This is where we see a return upwards after the fifth call. So we see DCBA being added up essentially. That's what happens with this. Because what happens is that here only a single length um, string will enter. So just D is there, so D goes back up. This calls the return loop. So these I had spaced out because these few calls would actually be we'd see those in the return loop. When those iterations go back. So at the end of this it would end up adding D plus C plus B plus A effectively. All right. So yeah, if I just remove these, essentially these are the function calls. That's what we're doing. Yeah, I guess I just made up mistake while typing, but I hope this was understandable. We were able to kind of see what's going on. If there's any confusion, I can kind of re-explain if need be. Just let me know in the chat if you need to understand. But yeah, bottom line is that we're gonna go back till the function. We'll see A, B, C, D. Then within those we see each of these individually kept. So the fourth time it's called, it returns D to this. The third time it returns DC here. Then it returns DCB. And finally we get DCBA. The final result would be DCBA. So that's the string that we hope to return. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and do one thing. I'm gonna add that to reverse string because we wanna call this function as well, right? I'm just gonna go ahead call that reverse string with input that we took from the user a while back. All right. Yeah, we should be good on this. So let me go ahead. Let me run this. Just going back and showing what we've written effectively and the logic of what happens here. But yeah, essentially these individual values get added up. So fingers crossed. Let's run this and see what happens. Clear this. Run. A B C D. Works. So yeah, those were three different methods by which we've gone ahead and tried to reverse the string for us. Now, is there any other method anyone has in mind that you want to ask about? Otherwise, I have an interesting idea. So we can, and this is something that is effectively very experimental. But what we can do is, now I am comfortable with C sharp. I am not so comfortable with a lot of other languages, but we can go ahead. We can try other languages and try to sort those in other ones. So I can just take inputs from you all, and we can choose a few and see if we can search the web and understand how to uh, you know sort with those languages. So that's something we can think about and try. But before that, I want to understand if there's any other method any of you want to try. All right. Otherwise, I think before, if these methods look good, then I'll just do one thing. I will kind of make a few edits to this program, and we will post it to GitHub and on DevPost. All right. And then we can keep going on and experimenting as much as we want. I see people want to see in Python. Yeah, we can do that. We can do that. Totally cool. We can try out other languages. Python is there. Java, I have some sort of awareness of beforehand as well. So I can try that in Java as well. Not an issue at all. Um, yeah, let's see. Let's try. So before that, I'm just gonna clean this up a little because I wanna make sure that we have these methods anyway. So I'm gonna do one thing. I will just add cons. Yeah, let me just copy this. I'm just gonna add this and add another little thing that converts console.writeLine to null. Yeah. All we're doing here is we're just setting aside different methods that we've tried to use. All right, nothing more than that. Actually, it won't matter if reverse string is made null or not. I don't believe that should because we're just depending on input and the value of input isn't changing. We're not changing input there. So all we need to do is just bring this here. So let me see if this works once. Um, I'm just gonna write method 3 and I'll remove this for a second. Let me test, see if this works. If this does, we're gonna save this. I'm gonna push it to GitHub and we're gonna submit to DevPost. I don't think we have a submission for this on Google Forms. I'll check once. We can go and do that. And after that, we'll start experimenting with other languages and see how that works. All right. So just give me a second. Let me try and see if this works. Here out. I'm gonna run this. We're gonna take a simple string, ABCD, and I believe I forgot to save it. My bad. Yeah. Okay. A, B, C, D, E. Where are we getting an error? I see we're getting a little error here. Now that you know. Huh. Interesting. I'm not sure we got this one earlier on. Huh. Are we by any chance messing around with input directly at any point? Because it seems to show an error here that we did not get earlier. Let me check. Let me check. I think it's a good thing this errors come up. Better now than, you know. Oh, wait. Yeah. Okay. I see. It should be length minus one. Yeah. My bad. Still getting the same error there. Where exactly though? I'm actually confused for a second because I don't believe we should be getting an error on this point. Does anyone have any ideas as to what might be going wrong here? Uh, hold that for a second. Just gonna deal with the array to see what might have gone messy there. Because I mean, this shouldn't be an error, but I have a feeling that the length might just be that might be a cause. These things happen all the time, to be honest. Like, it's a good thing we've seen this error here. And just for the sake, I'm gonna run a breakpoint here to see where it breaks, if it does. And it did not break. That works. I'm assuming, not sure why that error happened, but this seems to work. It might be because I changed this to a nullable type. It might be treating that a little differently. Not 100% sure there. I'm gonna have to research a little, but yeah, this works. So yeah, let's. Oh, I see. I had that change, and I forgot to save it, and I'm assuming I saved it before I made this one. So let me just go ahead and try for the sake of checking if that's what the case was, because it might actually have just been that. Yeah, I forgot to save the change. Yeah, that's not an internal functioning error. That's just an error. That's on my part. Never mind. Eesh. So yeah, I'm just gonna push this to GitHub, and then we can go forward. I'm gonna send the dev post link in. Don't worry. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna send dev post in. But before that, let me go ahead and publish this to GitHub. Fun thing, you can actually publish to GitHub directly from VS Code. So if I want to do that, I just kind of log in to GitHub from VS Code, and yeah, it seems like this works. Okay, I'm gonna open that back. We're gonna open this, allow this. So now that I have this, I can actually publish that. So I'm gonna rename the repo that I want. We're gonna call this. We're gonna add LHD build 2022 because that just helps me kind of separate and keep things a little comfortable and consistent. So I'm gonna publish this to a public repository, and that's what we have to do. And fun thing, you can actually select what files you want to keep and what not. I'm gonna leave the .vs code there because if someone wants to use it, it's gonna make sure that it triggers the C sharp extension. Um, that just makes life easier. But you don't have to keep this. You can actually, we can just keep this removed. We'll leave just the program in there. Okay. So let me publish this to a GitHub repo. All right. As we can see, yeah, that's a good idea. And it seems like it's already published this for me. So VS Code makes life easier. It publishes, uh, you know, you can publish your work directly. And yes, any of the files I deselected directly go into the git ignore. Convenient. So, that's exactly what they do. So let me go ahead now, and I'm going to go back to our little build website, because this is where I can get the dev post form. I'm going to open the form separately as well, because I just want to check and see if there's any relevant challenge. Mm-mm. Okay, so if you work on an in-depth readme for one of your projects, you can do that and kind of submit that. Makes it somewhat relevant, but this doesn't have to be just for this little stream. So no, for the form, we don't exactly have a specific challenge for this, but on build day 2, on the build day 2 list, there is one to write a script that reverses a string here. All right. I'm going to share this link. We do have a check-in link for this activity, Sainath. You can check out the announcements channel, for local hack day build within the Discord server. And that should give you a good number of insights as to where you can kind of check and, where you can find the check-in link. Otherwise, you can go to YouTube, scroll back, and find it there as well. So I've also got the YouTube link in case anyone needs. All right, you can check this out here, scroll back if you want to find other stuff. All the files should be there in the live chat. We're going to go ahead now, submit here. So I'm going to join this hackathon. All right. I'm working solo. We got to know about build from MLH, of course, via the website. We'll keep that one. And for this one, I keep MLH coach because I'm an MLH coach, but you can submit where you got to know about local hack day build from. After that, of course, we're checking the eligibility requirements, which I have had a chance to look at in the past. So I'm just going to quickly go through. All right. So this way you're registered for local hack day build day 2 on DevPost. Next thing you have to do is create a project for yourself. All right. So we're going to write, I'm just going to keep the name of this particular stream. All right. And that is, we'll just keep it as reverse a string. I'm going to mention LHD build 2022 here. Right. I'm going to write C# program to reverse a string. I'm going to save and continue. Go forward. Now, for these submissions, at least for this one, you don't necessarily need the entire, submission template of DevPost, but it's actually a really nifty tool for you to build a little documentation for your project. It gives a good sort of perspective that you can share. So do use it in your hack project properly, and for your other ones, you could model your in-depth readme after this as well, as we saw in the other form, if you want to go ahead and do that. So I'm just going to write CJAM program to reverse a string with 3 different methods, right? And we build this using C#. The languages we used here were, C#. You can also write .NET here because we did effectively use that. I'm going to actually add that here as well. Use .NET 6 there. So for this, I'm going to add the video demo link here because, well, I'm kind of on the stream and building this. But you don't need to worry too much about the video. The mandate there would be that you need to add a GitHub repo there. That's going to be an important one. So make sure to do that as well. That's going to be necessary. Afterwards, you can save and continue, and here you will make a selection and select, write a script to reverse a string. So that is what you will be using. That's the one you'll be selecting. After that, you once again agree to the terms and condition and submit this. So there is your dev post submission for this particular stream. All right. Now I'm going to close this now. Since we've looked at dev post, we've looked at how to submit. I Can we submit a replit link? I think that should be all right. But I just recommend going ahead with the GitHub link. All right. That's what I recommend. So yeah, now that I've shared a few basic methods, I put up an idea earlier on that I think some people kind of liked. So I shared a few different methods to reverse a string using C sharp. But of course, there are a lot of languages that you can work with, right? And a lot of different languages have their own quirks and formats. So I can maybe go ahead and reverse a string in a few languages that that I don't work with. So I go ahead. You all share the language, and I search and I well essentially go ahead and on stream see what my learning process to understand these concepts would be, and go ahead and reverse a string. Right. So if you want to throw in a language, please go ahead and do that, and we can try that out. I know a few people added Python earlier, but so Python, sure, we can try out. But aside from that as well, if there's any other language you would like for me to try, go ahead, add that. I'm not getting into esoterics at the moment. That's just gonna be scary. I have no idea how I will find enough documentation for lol code. Ruby, Rust. Okay, let me check and see, which of these have online compilers available. People are gonna kill me or what? Assembly. Yeah, Python's come up twice already. So Python is definitely one I'm gonna try. Yeah, Replis. Okay, for Python, there are enough online compilers. I'm gonna just go ahead and search and see if we have online compilers for these, and whichever ones we do, I'll go ahead and I'll open that. All right. PHP. Okay. Okay. This is gonna be scary. I have a feeling this is gonna be scary. This entire thing. Yeah. Okay. Ruby is there. And I think the last one that I'll probably add mm, I think I can take up Java. I'll take up Java. So I'll start with 5 of these. All right. And I hope I don't get, I hope this process doesn't take me. So yeah. Okay. Let's see. Sheesh. Okay. First up, let's start with, let me bring my screen back up. Java will probably be the easiest for me because I used to work very regularly in Java at one point, at least for practicing and learning about data structures. It's only there that I transitioned into C sharp from. Although I haven't written much Java in a while now, but I feel honestly for me, working with Java is going to be the easiest out of all of these options. So I'm going to go ahead. How many languages have people mentioned? I'm going to start with Python, Rust, PHP, Ruby, and Java, and we'll see where we go ahead from there. I'll try to understand language specific features and methods that allow sorting. I see Shubham's mentioned that they love Java, and I agree. It's actually a pretty cool language. It's it gets a lot of flack honestly for the syntax, but I don't mind that. I think it's all right. It lets you get a little more control over what you're trying to do. So yeah, Java, go Java. That's totally cool. So yeah, there you can see I've got 5 different compilers open. And folks, please mind me, I'm gonna stumble around a lot with this. So yeah, we're gonna take Python first. So the first thing I'm gonna actually understand is I want to see if you know if there's any specific method that we have in Python already. Uh, because I want to go ahead with language specific works. I want to see if that's the case. So I'm gonna check out, and if there's something that I don't understand, I'm gonna search in front of you to show how I go ahead and understand these concepts. I have a question from Nation that is, which language is hard to learn? Honestly, if you know, if you after one point, I wouldn't say most languages, at least in the fundamentals, aren't hard because there are a lot of concepts that cross over. So once you understand the fundamentals, it's really syntax that you need to get your hang on. Concepts wise, things won't, well, they're not going to change too much. So, okay, for the sake of this, I'm just going to keep the input value pre-decided. I'm not going to take specific separate inputs because I want to make sure that we actually focus on the string. So first thing, if I'm looking at with Python, I see someone shared the logic there, but honestly, I see it in a single line, so I have no idea what your indentation is for Python. Twitch is not going to give you an indented update, so that's definitely there. Which language is better to go with, Java or Python? They both solve problems of their own, so that's your call. Depends on what problem you want to solve. So yeah, I'm gonna actually go ahead and search reverse string in Python, and I see we've got a few different methods up here, right? I see slicing mentioned. I know slicing came up earlier as well, and I guess there is a reverse function as well, as I see in the chat. Nish mentions there's a reverse function. I can go ahead and try that. All right, so sure, we can go ahead and try printing. Let's see if this works. I have no idea if this will work, by the way. It doesn't. There doesn't seem to be a reverse function here. Is that any specific library you use? Okay, I see a method to slice. I know that one does exist, so we can try the slicing method. I think this one should work, to be honest. Yeah, that one works. Slicing is something I'm aware of. Oh, okay. So reverse is something that works for lists, but yeah, we weren't working with a list there. But yeah, slicing is one that I have seen in the past. That one I was kind of aware of, but yeah, slicing is convenient. So that's one way you can reverse strings in Python. We can check out some other ways as well. There's a nice little article on 5 different ways by which you can reverse in Geeks for Geeks. Um, okay, one of them is just going the same way that what I tried to achieve earlier, where you added a little string. For that matter, I could have used for each back with C# as well, but never mind. Yeah, we can try this one. You know, for I'm gonna write a big name. Okay. Uh, yeah, for that we'll probably have to define a reverse beforehand. So I'm just gonna see if This should be the same as method one that I'd used back, with in the first example that I worked on with C sharp. But this should work, I guess. And I'm just gonna go ahead and comment this out. Yeah. So that's just like method one that we worked with. I see someone's already, tried out with C++. So I'll tell you what, maybe after this, after these five languages, instead of me, if someone else wants to show what languages you've kind of worked with, we can maybe think about that as well. There's a lot of ideas that we have that we can work with. Nice. So I guess that kind of sorts out Python. But aside from that, there are other methods like recursion. This seems to be the exact same thing as the method three that I had, where we're effectively taking a substring from one onwards till the end, right? I guess that's what this is. The third method is using a stack. Yeah, I saw mentions of stack in the past as well. You can use a stack to go ahead and you know well reverse this as well. That's one method, of course. There seems to be an extended slice method. Yeah, okay, slicing. And the third is using the reversed function. Okay, so it returns a reversed iterator. Okay, makes sense. We're effectively iterating back and going ahead, and since the break is just nothing, every single character gets iterated through. All right. That's a few different methods for Python. Yeah, and yeah, you can try those out if you like that. Python's through for now. Next up was mentioned Rust. Now, I will mention I have never ever tried Rust in my life. Before this, Python I had still tried in the past. I see they're using the Monaco editor here, which is the editor that powers VS Code. You can actually find Monaco on GitHub. Like, just a little fun fact. I'm probably gonna have to search. This will get it here a lot quicker than I can by searching on GitHub. So yeah, the Monaco editor is something you can actually find and use in your applications. The only problem is, I believe that it is still one that you can only use on desktop, on the desktop browser. But yeah, that's the same editor that powers VS Code. So using IntelliCode, all of that is possible with this. So has anyone worked with Rust here? No. All right, so we're gonna check out how we can, work with Rust to reverse a string. In Rust. I see we've got points here on Stack Overflow. There's another example there. Um, Which one of these shall we? Okay, this. Okay, I'm just gonna open this website here once, and we'll go ahead. Okay, that interesting. Okay, I have no idea what's going on here. Unfortunately, this one seems a little more complex at this point. I don't want to use a resource that is a little overwhelming, so we're gonna check this out here. Yeah, I think there were some points up there, and we see mentions of this, but Rust has more complexities than I thought. So here we're talking about well, oh, we've got concepts here that I've actually never read of. Let's see what's happening. Wow, we're getting into language specifics. I'm gonna actually have to search this. My bad. I see. Okay, we're getting into the fundamental constructs of the language. Yeah, that's complex. But in any case, let's try out the method we have here. Because on so with this, what we're trying to do, I see, is that like we're breaking the string into characters, reversing those, and then kind of collecting them back. That is my understanding of what is being attempted on this front, and that I'm assuming is where it'll go ahead. So we can try this method. Let's see if this works. All right. Let input equal to A, B, C, D, E. Right. I actually have to check the println syntax on this because there's literally an exclamation. Okay. Yeah, there's an exclamation mark in there. Rust is interesting. I have whew, not something that I expected to see. There are more complexities here than I thought, to be honest. So I'm assuming what they did was they first broke it into characters, then reversed it, then selected. Wow, I actually have to look at the syntax a couple of times to understand if what I'm doing is all right. And I still have no idea whether this will work. Hmm, hmm, hmm. Let's see what happens here. I genuinely have. Okay, yeah, my bad. I forgot to add semicolons there. Well, that works. Yeah, that did work. But there are cases where it fails with specific. Okay, I mean, I'm gonna check if this case fails because there seems to be a case that's mentioned here that fails, but well, then there is some feedback there that it might actually work. I'm just gonna add this. This has more to do with how the different languages, the correct. Yeah, okay, it works. This seems to have been fixed. Uh, it comes down to how the different character sets are treated, which is why this entire case came up. But effectively, what we're doing here in this case is that we're breaking the string into characters, then reversing the order of the characters there, and then going ahead and just collecting them as a string once again and printing. I hope that makes some amount of sense. I mean, not exactly partial success. We are actually able to get that example running. The case that's supposed to fail seems to be working here. So that might have been fixed actually. Yeah, not bad. That works. Rust is interesting. I think one big factor as to why a lot of people have started moving towards Rust is the performance. Rust is highly performant. That's a big factor as to why a lot of people are now preferring Rust. It's a pretty cool language. You should definitely check it out. I know that we have Solana Labs just joined the fellowship, and I believe Solana's system uses Rust. I could be wrong there, but I believe it does. So do check out Rust. It's actually a pretty cool language that way. On to PHP. I'm still not. I mean, I think PHP is gonna be all right. To be honest, has anyone worked with PHP here? I've touched PHP, tried it out, but I don't actively work. So that's another thing altogether. But yeah, we're gonna try out PHP. It seems like that came up quite early. Okay, there seems to be a function that is already present to reverse strings. Mhm. Let's see if that works. I'm just gonna go ahead. I'm gonna add it directly to this piece of code. All right. Just gonna reverse this entire piece of text. Hmm, Is there a syntax error? Okay, I'm just gonna remove this once. All right, there seems to be some error here. I don't know why that is the case, but apparently it is. Hmm. I want to understand why, where exactly we've gone wrong, but I'm not 100% sure. I have a lot of issues with some languages that have trouble here with having or not having a space. But for the love of me, I'm actually not able to figure out where we're going wrong with this. Yeah, doesn't seem. Okay, this is interesting. This shouldn't be the case, but apparently we're seeing a problem here. Let me see if this. Okay, this is just printing. Reversing a string should ideally work because we have an example here that seems to be present. I'm gonna check out another resource and see if we've got the same case here. But um, is it was the dot by any chance? Okay, that was the dot. That was definitely the dot. So if I go ahead and write A B C D E, then that should also work, I guess. We don't need that for now. Okay, that works. That was basically the dot where we were having trouble. I'm assuming that resource had a little typo when it was created, and yeah, following just an incorrect example is kind of where we went wrong. It makes sense. I mean, why would there be a dot here in this program? But apparently, Java T point seems to use it. Yeah, that's a typo. Anyway, PHP, yeah, that's what I thought. It shouldn't have been that difficult to sort that out. But okay, PHP works. They've got an inbuilt function that seems to do the job. Okay. Yeah. PHP is actually, not as bad as a lot of people make it out to be. I mean, I've been seeing more and more PHP lately because, as well, some folks know, I'm also active with AppWrite, and AppWrite's built with PHP. So I've seen some PHP, and it can actually be pretty cool. Do check out PHP, it's a good language. Hmm. Okay, then on to Ruby. Now, Ruby's been around for a bit. That's another pretty powerful language. So let's check out reversing strings in Ruby. And it has a string reverse method. Cool. That's nice. Always makes life convenient. So if suppose I go ahead and I add, oh, if this works, it's gonna be interesting. And apparently it does. It's that easy. Oh, someone sent in a full C++ code and then nice. Hmm. Yeah, not bad. I see. So we've got someone working with C++. Great. That's cool. well done on that. That's the C++ code that you can check out. With C++, you don't have the same issue as with Python with the indentation, so that's it's all right. I think you don't have a problem sharing. As we mentioned earlier, you can submit in any language you like. There is no mandate. But yeah, Ruby works. That's sorted. So on to the fifth one. That was Java. I'm gonna try and do this without documentation. Let's see if there's anything about Java that I really remember. First thing that I forgot is that in Java, strings actually start with a capital S. This is going to be fun. I'm not taking a standard input at the moment. I can set up scanner, but I won't right now. I just it's convenient for example's sake. So I'm just gonna keep this as A, B, C, D, E, just as earlier, right? And for Java, I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna write, you know, we're gonna go back to method one. I'm just gonna keep a little reverse string here. I less than input or length, that function here, and I plus plus. That was a language I've had the fortune of working with for a little while, and it's actually a nice language. So here, what we're just gonna do is reverse equal to input dot array, which is gonna give me the character at a specific index, and I'm gonna add input, no, not input, sorry, reverse, and then we're gonna print it out. So yeah, this, I hope I haven't made any errors in the middle. This should ideally give us the solution, and it does. Yeah, I still got it. But yeah, that's Java for you. So yeah, those were the different examples that I was going to show. Now, I see there's a query around how you can push code directly to GitHub through VS Code. So on VS Code, you're going to have a source control button. If you don't have a Git repository initialized, you're going to see two buttons there. One is to initialize the repository, and the other is to publish to GitHub. All you need to do is publish to GitHub. That's going to happen on the source control tab here. Yeah, honestly, it's the same I am still worthy feeling of Thor. Yeah. But like, I think Java is still easier for me to work with because I work with C Sharp, right? Even in my free time. And they're syntactically very similar. So it's still easier for me to recognize and work with Java because of similarities in syntaxes. I mean, even if you look at this right now, you would see some similarities going on there, don't you? Right. Right now, I actually went and used the string and char. I mean, we've got var in both now, but yeah, syntactically they're very similar, which is why things work out. Some differences are like, with console.writeline and system.out.println, as well as, instead of char at, I just get to use this as an array here if I need to. But beyond that, it's similar, definitely. Yeah. So I think we had a decent bit of fun there. We tried, reversing a string in a few different methods in C Sharp, and then we tried a few different languages that I don't actually work with. So that's always fun. I hope this was an interesting experience for the folks hanging around here as well. I think it definitely was for me. Kind of just going back and trying this out because I haven't sat just to sit and try to reverse a string after in quite a little while. But it was nice to go back and see that you're still able to do that. I see a question on how many projects should we have to submit. As many as you want. There's no limit on that. With projects, I mean, I could have different projects for different languages here in this session if I want. It really comes down to what you want to do. I see where you've gone there. It's all right though. Honestly, what I will recommend is that the process of development, the process of building with the language, it seems to be complex. It seems to be, you know, overwhelming, and there are times where it is, but you can always find opportunities to enjoy with languages that you like. It might be difficult to invert a binary tree in one language, but that's less a language issue and more a conceptual issue. Honestly, once you understand those concepts, taking those forward into a language that may not be as big a worry as you might think. But it comes down to your conceptual understanding there on those fronts. And the fact is that you can still enjoy and build ideas without having to invert a binary tree, just for example. Um, so try to have fun with these languages. Try to build something for yourself, because you're going to build for your class, for your assignments, for your faculty, for your college projects. For some or the other reason, you might have to build for someone else. But spend a little time building for yourself. Hackathons are a great place to do that. Places like Local Hack Day are a great place to do that. So try that out. You might just have a little more fun than you might think. Yeah, fun is constant in any language. And here's the thing, assembly might not be fun for you, but there are going to be people who enjoy working with that as well, maybe. Because assembly level working with that is going to give you far more control than of your system than any other language, in my opinion. So you never know. There are people who might just enjoy that as well. I honestly agree with this one. We've already got someone who enjoys assembly. So yeah, see, that can be fun as well. So yeah, I guess that brings me to the conclusion of my session. Thank you so much, everyone, for hanging around for this little while. I think we've had fun here. We've tried to build something interesting, and I had a good time trying out a few new languages. That Rust one was scary. I won't deny that, but it was nice. We got that working. So that's what hacking is all about, just getting things working. So yeah, thank you so much for hanging around. I, please feel free to share any feedback you might want to. I'm always available on Twitter. That's typically the platform I'm most active on. So you can go ahead, reach out to me there, and tweet out, do that sort of thing. And hope you all continue participating in Local Hack Day, participating in other sessions, and have fun. So yeah, see you all. Bye.